One of the top free agents this offseason linked to the Sixers, and obviously they have what it takes to make a push, but more importantly, should they go out and pay this guy, and also would the fit make sense? We'll talk about that, and one other sneaky free agent that has popped up for the Sixers in recent days. Welcome on into Philly Take with RB. I'm RB. I cover the Sixers every single day, so do me a favor, hit the thumbs up if you support the content and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything else. We got a report a couple days ago, more of like a mention, and it was from NBA reporter Evan Sidery, who's been putting out a lot of stuff recently, and here is what it reads. Malik Monk could earn up to $25 million annually in free agency. Monk, who is still only 26 years old, is set to be aggressively pursued by teams in need of additional shot creation and playmaking ability. Keep an eye on the Magic, Pistons, Thunder, and Sixers as potential fits. So we know where we're at this offseason. A lot of cap space, flexibility. You have to build out an entire supporting cast around Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, and you're going to need to find some gems. Now, Malik Monk has certainly risen up the last couple years. He has been incredible as that sixth man for the Sacramento Kings. At one point after getting drafted, it almost felt like he was going downhill and he was never going to make it, but he really, had a resurgence in his career, and, he's been that perfect fit for Sacramento. But now they're most likely not going to either be able to afford him or want to keep him based on some of their fits, right? Sacramento had a disappointing season. They probably want to try to find a way to reshape their roster, but at the same time keep most of their pieces in place. So maybe he does return to Sacramento. Reports are that he does like it there, but when the money starts talking, sometimes you have to bite. So I do think it's interesting here. Evan Sidery does put the teams that have the most cap space. So whether this is a report or not, these are the teams that have the ability to go out and pay Malik Monk, and teams like, for example, the Magic need more, shooting, more offensive firepower. So I could see Malik Monk landing with any of these teams, but he does mention the 76ers. And from a fit standpoint, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think Malik Monk could be that secondary playmaker. I think he could be a pretty solid three-point shooter. He's at around 36% over the last couple years, but he does have games where he absolutely explodes, and we'll take a look at some of his game logs. From a fit standpoint, I think it makes total sense. I reposted this on Twitter and said that he should be at the top of the Sixers free agent target list because I just think he does a lot of different things that this team needs. Now, obviously, he's not the best defender, and, he could be a liability on that end, but when he's a six-man playing pretty much starter minutes and he's giving you games where he puts up 20, sometimes 30, sometimes, 40 plus, he is a guy that I think would be an absolute microwave scorer off the bench for the Sixers. And I feel like I've been saying this for 4 years now. The Sixers need a bucket getter off the bench where you just know every night coming in, they are going to give you theirs. There's no question about it. I've mentioned names in the past like Jordan Clarkson. They just need a microwave scorer, bucket getter off the bench, and Malik Monk would perfectly fit that mold. But when we start to talk about the financials, and this is where all the pushback came, everybody saw this $25 million figure, and I never said that he was going to get 25. It says could earn up to $25 million annually. I don't think he'll get that unless a team overpays, but let's go ahead and look at the contract situation. So Malik Monk had signed a 2-year deal with the Sacramento Kings. It was for 2 years, $19.4 million. And obviously he's going to want a pay upgrade based on how he played. And, when I think about it, would I give Malik Monk $15 million? Absolutely, no question. Would I give him $18 million? I'd think about it, but probably yes. $20 million, you're starting to reach. 20 plus, probably not. So I would not overpay for Malik Monk. I think you could find a guy later in the draft or hopefully a player who maybe hasn't fit well in his current team that comes to a new situation and, has more of a role, almost like Malik Monk at the beginning of his career. But, if it comes down to 15 to 20 million, I think we have to start taking into consideration the new CBA and how the cap continues to get pushed up. $15 to $20 million for a role player really isn't that much anymore. And I think Malik Monk would be an absolute stud for the 76ers. He will have a lot of interest, but this past season, 15 points per game off the bench, and he shot 35% from three. He had an injury down at the end of the season, so he did not play in the playoffs. Kings could have definitely used him, but that's kind of how the story went for Malik Monk, and he's only 26 years old. He's just an absolute offensive threat in every way. Like I said, the playmaking, the secondary playmaking he could provide to Tyrese Maxey, the shot creation, which the Sixers, again, really have not had that much of off the bench. And, you know, for a six-man, let's look at some of the games he had specifically in March, right? There's games where he gives you 2 points. There's games where he gives you 10. But then there's also games where he gives you 28. 25, 20, 26, 39, 22, 26, 23. Like, he is not your typical six-man who just comes in and gives 10 to 12 points off the bench. No, he's going to come in with firepower every night. He could even start if you wanted him to, but there definitely are some times in which he gets a little bit inefficient, so I would keep an eye on that, and I wouldn't go way, way overboard to overpay for this guy, but definitely a target that should be on their list this offseason. Now, I also want to talk about one other free agent target that has started to pop up in recent days. Bit of an intriguing player, a lot on the older side compared to Malik Monk, but before we jump into that, let's give a shout out to our sponsor, BetUS. BetUS, the best out there doing it. You can get a 125% deposit match bonus using our link on your first 3 deposits up to $2,500. 24/7 service, 24-hour payouts, the best out there doing it. And if you're watching these NBA playoffs, they've been absolutely chaotic. Minnesota is now down 2-0 after going down again on their home floor last night against Dallas. They choked it again in the fourth quarter. And now, you know, people are starting to think that this series is over. I don't think Minnesota is going to go down without a fight. I still think it feels like we're trending towards the Mavericks being in the finals. Luka hitting that game winner. Luka, Kyrie have been absolutely unstoppable. But I think I'm going to go Minnesota in game number 3 to bounce back and finally get a win. So once again, couple clicks. You can do this easy on BetUS using our link at a 125% deposit match bonus. Boom, we took Minnesota on the money line for game 3. Use our link down below in the description. All right, let's get back into it. So, the other player that we are keeping our eyes on is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and obviously a former NBA champion now, and has fulfilled a very good role. Like, he knows how to just lock in and be a vet and just be a player that can knock down shots and defend, a much better defender than Malik Monk. But he doesn't bring some of the other aspects like playmaking and being able to create off the dribble that much as a normal, you know, six-man would. But it says Kentavious Caldwell-Pope can earn around $20 million annually as an unrestricted free agent. Caldwell-Pope's championship experience will be coveted by contenders, but also teams looking to take steps towards playoff contention. Keep an eye on the Sixers, Spurs, and the Magic as potential suitors for KCP. Again, the teams with cap space, but is KCP worth 20 mil at this point? No, I would not pay that. Now, in this situation, I definitely would look for a younger player either through the draft or through trade or whatever it is. But KCP at 20 million per year doesn't really make sense to me. Would I pay him, you know, 10 mil, 12, maybe I would consider that. But 20 is just way too much for a guy who's getting older. You know, cooled down a bit in the playoffs. And obviously the Nuggets, like it says here, want to re-sign him. But again, you just can't have this many players making this much money anymore on your roster. So I think KCP maybe goes to a younger team this offseason. He's already won a championship. He gets a little bit of a overpay day and maybe helps a team like the Spurs or the Magic try to, you know, jolt themselves into contention. That's what I would view for KCP. I really like his perimeter defense. I think he'd be a really good role player, but I also think that he does benefit from having all those guys on the Nuggets around him, and I think he was maybe a bit elevated in a sense in terms of what he did with Denver. Still a good player, a guy who was a former, you know, lottery pick and transitioned his career very well, but I think that's a bit of a reach. I would much rather take Malik Monk than Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, especially given the age. So give me your thoughts down below. What do you think about these two players? Do you think that the Sixers should target either one? Will they have a chance at getting either one? Give me your thoughts down below. Appreciate everybody for tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I will catch you on the next one. Peace.